If you take the time and join in, you can get a feeling for how your children view life, just by watching them play. It's one of the purest forms of communication you can have with your children, because it's such a natural reflection of their innermost thoughts.
Play is probably the first kind of an activity that children engage in that really gives us some insight into how they think and feel. So it really is very important both as a way of learning and as a way of demonstrating to us that they have learned.
That's the beauty of playing with your child, really, because not only is your child learning from you, but you're becoming sensitive to what his interests and needs are. And through that whole experience, you really are helping your child to develop exactly what he or she needs to develop to become a bright, capable human being, and it happens naturally.
Studies have shown that when adults play with children, it can actually improve the child's intellectual ability by helping grow connections in the brain, which makes it one of the most important things you can do for your children, particularly in the first 8 years when they're learning some of the most important things they will ever know, like how to walk, how to talk, and how to relate to others. That's why you have to start early, even when they're still infants, giving them the kinds of activities that will help them learn. And that doesn't mean things like flashcards or language tapes. It means play.
What we are learning is that by stimulating how children play, by providing them with more opportunities and more options in their play, we now know how that makes children smart, and that it does indeed increase the number of synapses in the brain, and that those increases are the basis for children's thinking and intellectual development.
The experiences that we give them to play and to grow allow them to recognize a little bit more about the world, to experience greater horizons, and through these greater horizons be ready developmentally to move on into reading and into doing the things that are expected in school that will provide for their knowledge as they grow.
But it's not enough just to give children activities to do. If you really want your children to develop to their full potential, you have to be part of the experience.
Children who have adults who play with them are the children who score very highest of all on all tests, who read better, who do numbers better.
Even something as seemingly simple as playing board games with your children can have a marked effect on their critical thinking skills.
They can help children learn to think through, plan strategy. Those are wonderful things to learn through playing games in a family setting. Very often when they're 6, they cry if they don't win, or they want to change the rules, or they cheat, and that's perfectly normal. They will gradually become quite proficient board game players, and it's at that point that parents should engage them in talks about strategy.
The child will gain the most if they become actively involved in their play, not just handing them things to play with and providing toys in their environment, but really getting down on the floor with the child, creating imaginary worlds with them, and giving children the opportunities to see how you play creatively with materials. It'll help your child develop so much creativity and a sense of wonder and fun about learning that he'll take with him into adulthood.
Now, it's a very careful balance there, because if you get too directive, then it's no longer play. You're just telling the kids what to do.
I think that when we as adults stop having to be preaching, teaching all the time, that our kids learn a lot more. And play to me has to originate with the child and has to come from the child. When a parent insists that you sit down and draw for a half an hour because that's important, that's not play.
What the adult's role is to extend children's opportunities to interact with materials and to try to make sense of the world.
When they see you carefully stack a block on top of an upright and watch it teeter a little bit and watch you adjust for that, they're going to try that out and do it themselves. They're going to learn from your behavior. And you're going to learn from theirs.
Children who are taught by example learn better than anything else. You do a lot of music if music is something that your family enjoys, but the artificial bringing in of classical music, if this is not something that you enjoy, is phony.
The best play comes naturally. It's what you really do with your child when you're having the most fun. You've got to trust your instincts and go with what feels good and feels right to you. And the more you play with your child, the more you're going to be able to know what's going to work with your child.
Follow the child's lead. That's probably the most important thing you can do. Follow where your child is taking you. If you come in with too strong an agenda, you're going to make this into a lesson. And it's not good for play to be lesson time. Let play be playtime.
Just as important as how you play with your children is when you play with your children. It can make a huge difference in how they learn.
Children go through what we might call sensitive periods for learning particular skills. And one of the earliest is language. Children are very sensitive to hearing language, and through hearing it, they develop something which is very important in their life, and that is speech.
It's not hard to provide the kinds of experiences that help your children learn. They are, after all, a form of play.
Yeah, that's good.
One of the best ways to help your child develop language is to read to them.
And a B is for ball.
And it's never too early to start. Babies enjoy being held and listening to their parents' voice. Toddlers think it's fun to look at the pictures and point out objects that match the words. And of course, everyone loves stories, parents included.
Music is another way to practice language skills, from singing songs to acting out the lyrics. And as you might guess, it's one of my favorite forms of play.
Music frees us up to do silly things and express our feelings in outrageous ways. And experts say it's as important to children's learning as teaching them their ABCs or how to count numbers. In fact, the mistake a lot of parents make these days is to sacrifice playtime for schooling. Now that we know so much about how the brain develops and that children are capable of learning so much at an early age, the temptation is to focus more on ways to raise test scores and less on whether our kids are having fun.
Previous generations just assumed that childhood was a playing time, and then we decided that we could start adding more and more and more requirements to what childhood had, because if kids are so receptive that they're able to learn language and they're able to learn so many things, what if we added some other ingredients to it, some more cognitive things? And so we've added and we've added and we've added, and finally there hasn't been enough time left for children to make discoveries and explore on their own.
Once children start school, it becomes more and more difficult for them to play. And so we need to make very, very sure that we give them some time. That's our big gift that we can give school-age children, is time. Time to play. Time to play freely. Time to play with playmates of their own choosing in unstructured ways. Try not to fill your child's out-of-school hours with lessons and with structured sports. Try to leave some hours where they just hang around and invent things to do to fill up the time. The best role the parent can take is that of the tag-along child, because the child is the boss in this environment.